going to use this board to represent the life cycle of salmon. The white portion of the board is going to represent freshwater habitats. Think of this white portion as the Skagit River and the many tributaries that flow into it. This portion of the board is going to represent saltwater. You can think of this as the Pacific Ocean. Individual salmon begin their life in a pile of eggs, in a salmon nest which is called a redd. The water's got to be the correct depth, there's got to be enough oxygen to flow over the eggs, the size of the gravel needs to be the right size, the temperature needs to be good, the water needs to be clear, and cold. All of these things are important factors for the survival of the eggs. Once the eggs hatch, they develop into alevin. As long as the alevins still have their yolk sac, they don't have to leave the safety of the redd. Once this little jelly bean of nutrient has been absorbed into the body of the alevin, they're ready to leave the nest and find food of their own. At this point, they're known as fry. The fry can live in the river for up to 1.5 years. Because they're very small, they can't outswim a lot of predators, so it's really important that they have places to hide in the river. Good habitat for them includes areas that are slow-moving and shallow, and they depend on good places to hide, such as the roots of trees and other aquatic plants. As these fish develop and become big enough to eat small invertebrates, they also develop these lines on their body which are called parr marks. This stage of salmon development is called the parr. When salmon are in the alevin stage of development, they're protected by their redd. However, when they're in these two phases, they depend on good hiding places within the river. That's why it's important to have things like down trees, side channels, and roots in the water so that these young salmon have places to hide. Eventually the salmon make it to the end of the river, and their environment is no longer 100% fresh water. As they swim through the Skagit River Delta and into Skagit Bay, the water starts getting more and more salty. During this time, their body is going through some drastic changes because at a cellular level, your body needs to do different things in a freshwater environment as opposed to a saltwater environment. The process that the salmon go under as they change is called smoltification, and at this point, they're known as smolts. Young smolts still are not very strong swimmers, so they depend on good places to hide. Eelgrass is a wonderful habitat for them for this reason. As they get bigger, they go into deeper water, deeper into the Salish Sea. Since an estuary is a mixture of freshwater and saltwater, our smolts are in the middle here. This area represents the estuary. The southern resident orca whales spend a lot of their time in the Salish Sea, and they may encounter fish like this, but the smolt at this point are far too small for the orca whales to bother with. They'll wait for the adult salmon to return from the ocean. By the time the salmon make it to the ocean, they are considered adults, and their bodies have changed to be completely silver. Assuming they live full life cycles, they'll spend usually between 1 and 7 years in the ocean. During this time, they're eating lots of seafood and they're putting on a lot of weight, becoming much larger. The salmon leave the ocean for one reason and one reason only, and that is to make the next generation of salmon. As they move back through the estuary towards the freshwater where they were born, they stop eating, and as they approach their natal grounds or the area where they were born, their bodies change again, and then it's easy to tell the difference between species. At this point, they're known as spawners. They face many obstacles on their way back to where they were born. Obstacles like predators, strong currents, and waterfalls. Many of the native predators that live in this area depend on the return of the salmon every year because they are so large and nutritious. With all the obstacles that salmon face, only very few will make it to be able to start the cycle over again. It is estimated that only about 1 in 1,000 eggs will return as spawning adults. Once they are done spawning, their life is over and they die. This may seem sad, but is actually really important for our ecology. Many animals will prey on the bodies of the dead salmon, and the nutrients that they brought from the ocean at their bodies will ultimately feed the soils and the trees.